the Big Picture Film Club. My guest today is Sam Lucas Smith, actor, writer, and all-round content creator. His latest work is a dark comedy anthology series that satirizes our relationship with AI and technology. Sam, welcome to the Big Picture Film Club. How are you doing?
Thanks, Brett. Good to be chatting with you.
Before I get into the series, I actually wanted to kind of really dig in deep about your sort of start within acting and kind of looking at your story. Like, you've gone from, it seems like you're based everywhere, from going from Ireland, and now like your story from Ireland to the States. And
yeah,
how does that happen, and like why, and what key decisions were in that for you?
yeah. I guess, well, acting has been my main pursuit kind of throughout life. It was the only thing that I even really graduated towards in school. It's the only thing that I was really good at. So I suppose it was helpful that I didn't have any sensible career to kind of hold me back. So when I graduated from school in Ireland at the age of 18, I had already auditioned and been accepted to drama school. I'd already decided that's what I wanted to do. And it was a BA, bachelor's degree in acting at the MMU School of Theatre, and trained there for 3 years in various techniques. It was mostly Alexander based, and I wouldn't say it taught me how to act as such, but it gave me a discipline for the craft. And from there, after graduated from drama school, I did the whole rigmarole. You do a drama showcase, and then some people get agents, some people don't, and then you think, oh, I've got an agent, I'm set for life now. And then some people, oh, I don't have an agent, I failed. But of course, that's never the case. Some people who have agents at the time are no longer working as actors. Some people who didn't are now very successful. I myself, I think I did get an agent at the time, but it wasn't the right agent for me. And I kind of hustled my own way. And after graduating from drama school, I joined a very small agent at the time in Ireland. And I got a few roles under my belt at that stage. One of the roles ended up being a small part in 2 episodes of the series Vikings. And through that, I was introduced to a large London agent. And very fortunately, I was able to compete and audition for bigger roles. And I got a start. I got my foot on the ladder, which I think is the hardest thing to do as an actor, because, there's so many people every year, so many drama school graduates being thrown into an industry where there are just such a limited amount of roles. This year in particular, for obvious reasons, it's been harder than ever for those new graduates. So I certainly empathize with them. And I just kept building little notches along the way. And one of the roles that I got, I ended up auditioning for a film which was shooting in the US at the time. And for that, I needed a US visa. And I made the move to LA. So from London then to LA, I was then got a visa to work in the US for this film. And I kind of fell in love with the US at that stage. And I kind
What
of
were your
decided, this is
first
where I want to
impressions
be.
like? Sorry.
What's that?
Yeah, what were your first impressions like
of the US?
Yeah.
Different environment. Like there's, I fell in love with the energy of the place.
Right.
I mean, LA in particular, it is all about film. It's all about the industry. You can't go. Everyone is an actor. Some of them are working, some of them aren't working, but it's it to its fault. Sometimes it is obsessed with the industry, which is great if you're involved in that industry. It can be frustrating. I mean, it can be tough when you're not quite, you're reminded of it all the time if you're not excelling in what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's nice. What I like about London, I guess, and going back to Ireland is that you can step away. It's like you're not consumed by it all the time. And I think that's important for your mental health and everything else. You need to be able to have a normal life and have other passions and other pursuits. So for better or worse, that is LA, and that's where I am right now. So yeah, in between when I was working here in LA, I had my visa. I had a frustrating experience where I screen tested through the American agent that I had here at the time for
Mm.
a pilot, which was going to be on the Fox network. Unfortunately, as it turned out, the studio at that time had just stopped accepting visa applicants. So
Okay.
technically, they said to everyone, nope, you must have a green card or you cannot work. So at this stage, when you screen test for a project in the US, you sign the deal memos, you see what you're going to be getting per episode. And
Mm.
again, that's one of the reasons I kind of like the US. The pay grade is, when you're at that level, it's quite a bit higher. So there's a lot more money to be made. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to take that role, and it didn't go my way because I did not have a green card at the time. Sadly, not barely a week later, my American agent passed away, and that very same week, my London agent retired. And
Wow.
not so long after that, my visa was coming to an end. So at this stage, I was like, oh my God, everything's crashing around me. What am I going to do? At that stage, I made the decision that I wanted to find a way to be able to get back to the US on a
Mm.
permanent basis, which meant I would need a green card. I had to go back to Ireland at the time, and I decided to, well, because I had applied to and was accepted to study for a master's degree in screenwriting at the National Film School at IADT in Dublin. And I accepted. I went along to it, and during that year, I got my master's degree and spent basically the entire year putting together my petition to petition for my green card under the criteria of the EB1 status it is, which is basically
Mm.
the green card version of an O1. And thankfully, it went my way and I was able to move back, which is about 2 years ago at this stage. And when, essentially I'm landing in the US as a new person.
Mhm.
I've got, nobody knows me. I'm a newcomer. I've got to get, I'm starting from fresh. I've been away from the industry for uh, over a year.
Yeah.
And my way of getting connected with people and getting my foot on the ladder, so to speak, was through writing and producing my own work as an actor.
Mm.
And it introduced me to great directors and other talent that I wouldn't have had the chance to otherwise. And that's kind of been the habit. It's an unfortunately expensive habit because everything I
Yeah.
make I self-fund as well.
Mhm.
Hopefully someday someone will turn around to me and give me money. But until then, I've been doing it my own way, and I've kind of kept it up ever since. So it's an ongoing story. Hopefully it'll all work out in the long run. But certainly over the height of lockdown, it was my way of keeping sane, basically. The industry dried up. There weren't opportunities where there were before. So, there's nothing stopping me at that stage of making my own work. So that's what I did, and kind of keeping it up, basically.
Nice. And I on that point of, I just kind of want to go back and then move forward.
Mm,
You'd sort of described the energy of LA, and
yeah,
was that coming to LA as an outsider, a relative
mm,
outsider? Did other Americans from other parts of the states who are also coming into LA have that
yeah.
same feeling, or is it a uniquely Sam Lucas Smith experience in that regard?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I think that's LA
Yeah.
pretty much in its entirety. Almost everyone, I'd say, here has moved from somewhere else and they're pursuing something. Some of
Hmm.
them are trying to escape something. It's a very transient place. And that can be to its detriment sometimes. There's a lot of people, some people find themselves in LA, a lot of people lose themselves. And I've seen a lot of people move from elsewhere and kind of realize, oh, it's kind of expensive here. And oh, wasn't able to find a day job, and oh, things haven't worked out as they seem. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of that to blame for that is that there's a kind of industry here that feeds off of selling people the dream. The dream is a product in itself, and
Hmm.
it exists, but some people kind of buy into it in a, I think there's some insidious kind of characters who like to sell people the idea of that dream, where it's not quite within their grasp at the right time. And I
Yeah.
think when moving to LA, it's got to be the right time. You got to have something behind you. You definitely got to have savings, and you know you got to understand that it's not an overnight thing. You know, and regardless of where you happen to be, if you're moving to LA or any city, it's got to be because you like the place
Yeah.
and you can say that this is going to be home. Because ultimately, if stuff doesn't work out, if you have a year like the last year, you got to be able to come home at the end of the day, or stay home as the case was, and say, look, this is my home, this is where I am. And you know, once you have that foundation and that being home, you can work from there. And regardless if it's in the entertainment industry or anything else, I think you've got to have that grounding.
And now I want to talk about your anthology series.
Yeah.
Does it have a name?
Dark Tales, as it is. So basically,
Dog Tales.
I'm pitching this new, and my phone is going to go off if I say the title of it.
Okay.
So the latest short film that I did was OK Google,
Yeah.
and there my phone just went off, and anyone else who's within the vicinity. It's a potentially it's a one-off short film. It stands as its own as a short film,
Mhm.
based around it stars Rebecca Black, who is known for the song Friday,
Yeah.
which you know she's taken under her belt, and you know she's embraced it for what it
Recently
was.
had its
Uh,
10-year
is it?
anniversary because she
Oh
done
yeah.
like a remake for
Oh
or
yeah, she and
remix.
this is it. She's done
Yeah.
remakes. You know, it's the weirdest thing because like it, she's known for this song, which people slate and people, you know, people like the amount of online bullying and like that she had to deal with at the age of 13 was
Yeah.
horrific. I wouldn't have been able to deal with it. I wouldn't be able to now. And she took that under her belt. You know, people are it's and she's taken that and said, yeah, it's the most hated music video in the world, and she's built a career out of that and a name for herself.
Mhm.
And she's actually a brilliantly talented artist. You only have to look at some of her latest stuff and the film when I can actually release it to see that that is completely true. Um, and yeah, it stars Rebecca Black as a vindictive AI assistant who breaks out of the cloud to exact revenge on her owner. So that is the ridiculous premise. And it stands as a short film in its own right, but I'm working about developing it as the idea that it stands as a pilot episode, or let's say episode one of a short form series
Yeah.
based around AI technology.
Yeah. And is that where so is Fridge also connected to that as well? Or
Very loosely. So
yeah.
the other film that I made, it was actually after that film. And I wanted something that on a smaller scale with a smaller budget, something that I could write, direct, edit, shoot myself, do
Mhm.
the catering with one basically on-screen character and then a secondary character, which is voiceover alone. And that was another British actress that I know called Som Capilla, who was great. And she played the part of a bitchy fridge that likes to talk back to me, a fridge that fat shames the main character for eating ice cream. Basically, that is the ridiculous plot. Uh, it's one of something that, so I had this series called Dark Tales, which was something that I'd written. It was an anthology series that I was pitching as Black Mirror, but funny.
Yeah.
And it was picked up for development, and I signed a shopping agreement with a production company based in the US and Canada, and we were shopping it around and kind of working on it for a good part of
Mhm.
like after I first arrived in the US for the majority of the year. And it was being considered by various networks, IFC, and some of these. And ultimately, it didn't get picked up. It was considered by Quibi at one stage,
Okay.
which
Whoa.
lasted all of
Yeah.
what, a week. Uh,
Yeah.
but we didn't have enough names attached. So good riddance. Uh, but I was left kind of after this, it didn't get picked up. And part of me was there going, oh, well, that was a waste of time. And the part of me was thinking, well, I've written all these films
Mm.
and I've written all this stuff. So is this just going to sit there? And I was frustrated that I felt like it wasn't going to go anywhere. And I thought, well, you know what? I've written all this stuff. I might as well make them, and I'll do them
Yeah.
myself. I'll kind of wrangle a team together on the small budget that I have and just make them, put them out there. And that's what I've done. I have made, I suppose I've made about 4 of them so far, and then there's 2 more that I'm hoping to get funding to make. And then OK Google and Fridge, there's my phone going again, are 2 of those films. And I've taken OK Google on its own, and I'm kind of pursuing the idea of making that a series in itself. And also Fridge,
Yeah.
I have this idea that maybe it could be an ongoing short form series, uh, short little episodes based around the toxic relationship between a man and his smart ass fridge, who basically makes his life a living hell. And what I love about these things are, like, it's such a ridiculous premise,
Yeah.
and I love that there's so many ideas that I say, okay, this is the reality, this is the world. What can you do with that idea? And it just springs loads of ideas to me. So I've got other little episodes written out that I'm hoping to be able to make as time goes on.
And do you find that's I think your journey seems to kind of resonate with I'd say a lot of people in your generation, in terms of, you know, really picking up what you can and making, you know, making lemonade out of lemons, and just kind of being like, all right, I don't have, you know, I can have these meetings with these big
Yeah,
networks and I can wait on them for my quote unquote big break,
yeah,
or I can just look around and be like, all right, who has a camera, who can step in, can
yeah,
you do me this favor, I can do you a favor later on,
completely.
putting it out to the world and being like, what do you think, world, and sort of building off that. Like I think of creators like Issa Rae, who
Mm,
had her Awkward Black Girl series on YouTube, and she's been able to kind of spin off and really do her work from like Insecure and other work on her own terms, because, you
yeah,
know, she's kind of established her brand as, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, uh,
yeah,
accept me on these terms. And do you
yeah.
think, you know, with other younger creatives in LA, that's their sort of mindset as well, much like yourself?
I think more and more so that is becoming the case. I've learned that myself because as an actor in particular, the frustration has been, like, so often you're asking for permission. You're
Mm,
asking for permission to audition for a role. You're asking to be seen. You're asking to be considered. And even when, you know, writing or developing, when I came to pitching, it's kind of like, will you help me make this, or will you do it? And I kind of realized, look, there's nothing stopping you necessarily from just making the work. Ultimately, what you want is that the work speaks for itself. So anything that you can do to just make the work,
mhm.
do that. And that's kind of been my learning to it, because I was, you know, I was reaching out to casting directors and kind of hoping, oh, this is my reel, will you consider me for a job? And you know, there's so many actors all looking to just be, just to audition and to be considered. And there's so many factors that come into play with that. But what I found is that I've got a series under my belt. I'm hiring a casting director.
Mhm.
And I found casting directors are a lot quicker to respond when you're approaching them with a job opportunity rather than asking them for a job opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's been a way of kind of introducing myself to people. And then, yeah, when it comes to it, getting the work done. Because, you know, you don't need to ask permission. Nothing's stopping you from writing, first of all. You know, you download final draft, whatever, you got an idea, put it down on paper, and you can develop that idea. It doesn't need to be perfect to begin with. And it's always a learning experience. You know, you make one film, maybe it's crap, whatever. You've made a
Yeah.
film, great, take that under your belt. And as long as you're learning and improving from there, as I feel like I have done and hope to continue to do so, you know, it'll only serve you well, and it'll introduce you to people. And I think, you know, appreciating people's time, you know, I do favors or whatever else. I think there's a lot of people kind of making stuff without paying people and unpaid stuff. And
Yeah.
when it comes to it, will always, I always want to give people at least compensate them for investing in my idea. And time
Yeah.
is their investment, really, and it's small money. Nobody's working with me for the money that I'm giving them, but if somebody's investing in my project, I want to invest in them or invest in my own idea, because if
Yeah.
I'm not doing so, it doesn't instill faith in anything else. So pay people and make that investment, save up a bit of money. I certainly don't have much myself, but people will appreciate it more, and they'll be more willing to give you their time and talent for it.
And just finally, outside of OK Google and Fridge, is there anything you're working on outside of the stuff that you have personally created? And yeah, what's next?
Yeah, well, as far as upcoming stuff, I've got some short films coming up. I was supposed to be shooting something tomorrow, but that has been postponed. And I've just signed with a new manager here as well, off the back of my stuff coming out. And I'm currently taking meetings with agents and stuff, which is always a bit of a painful experience, because you meet with so many people, and there's a lot of talk in LA. I think it's
Yeah.
important to kind of look beyond that, and you can get wrapped around it without everyone's telling you, oh, you're amazing, I want to work with you, or whatever. You just want to find the right team
Yeah.
alongside you. I just finished doing an audio drama. I say finished, actually. No, I've got one more recording day next week, and that is completely remote. So I've got my home voiceover booth, and I've been working with a, a theatre company in New York, with some talent who are based in Ireland, some talent in New York, and that's the amazing thing these days. I'm doing a live recording with people all over the world,
Yeah.
working an acting gig. And then beyond that, what have we got? There's a few more things that I'm hoping to write and develop. I'm all about acquiring funding now at this
Okay.
stage, and actually getting outside investment. It's an expensive habit making your own films, and it's
Yeah.
certainly expensive in LA, between SAG fees and now shooting during COVID as well. There's extra expenses involved in hiring safety specialists to be on set. And I think at this stage, I've got a portfolio that I can put out to people who might be interested in investing in the other ideas. I do like dark comedy, has been my thing, and I'm still kind of chasing the Black Mirror but funny thing. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that maybe after the next two that I've got in the works, I might start looking at making a feature.
Yeah. Great. Sounds great. Well, Sam Lucas Smith, thank you very much for joining us at the Big Picture Film Club, and we'll be in touch soon. And yeah, we'll put a link in the description for your YouTube channel for everyone to check out your work.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Brett. Great to chat
Cheers.
to you.